everyone. Thank you for joining our session. During this session, we will discuss Japan's potential as the new financial hub in Asia and discuss about Tokyo, Fukuoka, and Osaka. Mainly, we'll be discussing things about Tokyo and Fukuoka, given our panelists here today. So let's start by introducing who we have as panelists here, starting with Keiichi.
Hi, I'm Keiichi Aritomo. I'm the executive director of the board for FinCity.Tokyo. I'm going to spend some time later as to what FinCity.Tokyo is. My background is management consulting. I spent 23 years, and I was fortunate to be able to work in 8 countries, primarily for financial institutions encompassing banking, securities brokerage, and asset management and insurance. I came back to Tokyo/Japan 4 or 5 years ago, and decided to contribute back to Japan through the financial ecosystem transformation. Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here. Hi.
Hi everyone. I am Yuri Suzuki, a partner of Atsumi and Sakai, which is the Tokyo-based law firm. I'm head of our firm's FinTech team and have assisted the FinTech Association Japan for several years. And I also, because I'm a financial lawyer focusing on the banking, finance, and capital markets for many years, I'm very much interested in the international financial hub vision. So I'm now deeply involved in that activity as a FICTA body, FinCity.Tokyo, as a statutory auditor. And I'm also a member of our expert meeting of International Financial Hub Vision organized by the Tokyo Metropolitan Government. I'm also a mentor of the supporting program of the Tokyo Financial Award. And so far, I met many fintech companies, both the international clients and domestic clients. I'm greatly honored to join this panel, and I would like to discuss how we achieved international financial hub in Japan. Thank you.
All right, can I start?
Yes, please.
This is Mumu from the Fukuoka Global Finance Center. By the way, Yuri-san, you have a very nice car. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah. And sorry, today I'm in Fukuoka. And so I have some studio very close to the beach and very close to the Fukuoka Tower. But Fukuoka City prepared this awful green screen, although I'm wearing this green sweater. I think later we can discuss about the problem and opportunity of the Fukuoka and Tokyo. This is the first problem. And so I'm originally not come from the Fukuoka. And I based in the Kanto area near Tokyo. My university was in Tokyo, and also I started to work in the bank in Tokyo. Afterwards, I worked for the bank and also the electric company in many countries. And now, so about 5 years ago, I come back from the Africa. Actually, before the Africa, I was in China. So the Fukuoka is quite a friendly city for the people outside of Fukuoka. And I'm living in Fukuoka for 5 years now, so I have some work with the Fukuoka city government. In addition to the Global Finance Center, so I'm also in charge with the Global Startup Center, which I'm running for the 4 years. And so today, I'm very honored to be here, and because so we are talking about sort of competition as a candidate of the International Finance City. And so if it's a 100-meter sprint race, Fukuoka is at the starting line, and Tokyo is very close to the goal. But still, we are on the same race. I'm very happy to be here. And today I want to discuss what we can do, what we have. I think that we can do the sort of the good comparison between the Tokyo and Fukuoka. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Momo-san, for the introduction. And let's get right on. I think we'd like to first discuss about what kind of ecosystem Japan has overall as a financial hub in Asia. And maybe Keiichi, you could start discussing about FinCity.
So I'm going to use some slide. I don't mean to spend too much time on those presentation materials, but briefly, I'd like to touch upon why we started FinCity.Tokyo, or Financial Hub Transformational Initiative, several years ago, actually back in 2016. So it's a bit text heavy, but basically I'm making a very simple point. We have way too much money in Japan, right? So that's a problematic. How can we utilize our wealth, right? And we have low interest rate. If not negative, it is very, very insignificant. So saving doesn't help. We have $1,800 trillion, yen, $18 trillion or $19 trillion of saving. More than 50% of saving is kept in savings account. However, our pension system was designed after World War II, where when Japan was growing exponentially, and people were expected to work through 65, and men were expected to live up to 75 years old. So pension system was designed to support 10 years or so, right? But we are no longer, in the lifetime employment system. So we have a demographic issue as well. We have to upgrade investment capabilities. Back in 2016, when Governor Keiichi was elected to be the governor of Tokyo, she formulated advisory panel with key, symbolic representatives from different industries, like Japan Bankers Association, JSTA, Japan Investment Advisory Association, and assigned Andy Saito, who used to be the CEO of JPX, Japan Exchange Group, to be the chair of this committee, advisor panel, and I was assigned as his deputy as well. So we spent a year to shape the strategy to transform Tokyo as a global financial hub. And one of the takeaways out of a number of different takeaways is to have a dedicated organization to continuously promote and upgrade Tokyo/Japan as a financial ecosystem. So that's the genesis of FinCity.Tokyo. Our domain name is FinCity.Tokyo, and I'm one of the founders, but our founding also chairman used to be the deputy governor of Bank of Japan, Mr. Nakaso as well. So, so that's the background of FinCity.Tokyo. I skipped this page, but next page might be much simpler. We do only three things. We articulate what's going on in Japan, both in Japanese and English, which is not easy because Japanese laws and regulations are quite complex to explain. For example, inheritance tax or permanent residency, from a tax law perspective and civil law perspectives are different. Right. I have been struggling to explain this kind of thing. And there are lots of the sort of the urban myths or perceptions or business customs, which is hard to be distinguished from laws and regulations as well. So we are not doing propaganda. We just explain what's going on, what it is, right? So that's the starting point. And then we obtain feedback and aggregate and put together the voices from different market participants or investors and circle back to communicate to lawmakers, policymakers, and regulators, and then shape the policy recommendations, right? And then go back to market participants, both domestically and internationally. So that's the kind of loop we are going through. So pretty much very simple. Communicate, obtain feedback, and recommend policy, any adjustments. So that's FinCity.Tokyo. We have 43 institutions supporting our initiatives, but in reality, 60 to 70% of the funding is coming from Tokyo Metropolitan Government. However, they only have one voting right, so that's the key, right? So financially, we have been supported largely from Tokyo Metropolitan Government, but they are committed to listen to what the industries are saying. As well, Atsumi and Sakai, represented by Yuri, is also one of the members for FinCity.Tokyo as well. And we have made quite a few policy recommendations to the central government and also the majority party by the name of LDP, and we coordinate constantly with Tokyo Metropolitan Government. So we are kind of trying to align among those key stakeholders, central government, LDP, and or other related political parties and Tokyo Metropolitan Government. But going forward, I'm committed to also coordinate with other financial centers such as Fukuoka and Osaka, Kobe. I'm actually from Kobe. I grew up in Kobe, and I worked in Fukuoka. Although I spent so much time outside of Japan, but whenever I had opportunity to work in Fukuoka, I jumped onto Fukuoka-based engagement as well. So I'm happy to have this opportunity to discuss with Mumu-san and together with Yuri.
Right.
Okay, so that's background of FinCity.Tokyo.
Great.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Yuri?
Yuri, we move on to you. Okay.
Slide. In my turn, let me explain for the recent updates of how the Japan is opening the welcome the overseas financial companies. Okay, let's see. Atsumi and Sakai assisting the many international clients to with their starting business in Japan. We assisted clients with incorporation and obtaining visa status and obtaining their financial licenses, and we provide one-stop services to attract overseas clients. And I would like to highlight today the Japanese government's various measures to relaxing the laws and regulations to attract the overseas companies. So this slide explains that the recent changes to expedited incorporation. So now all the directors, if you incorporate a company in Japan, you don't need Japanese address. And secondly, it much easier to get the payment certificate, and also it's relaxing about the signature certificate. And now the Ministry of Justice is keen to proceed with a fast-track registration, and they also very much keen to realize the complete online one-stop system for incorporation process, and also they are trying to do the abolition of organization file notification of seal impression in case of incorporation. And in terms of the financial services agency, they have many measures for the, for example, the firstly they published a guidebook for registration of investment management business. This is the English guidebook, and also earlier this year they made amendments to the rules in order for the foreign investment manager who has difficulty in continuing its business in the foreign country can continue the business temporarily in Japan. So they for temporarily come to Japan, and for about 3 months you don't need a financial license. And also recently they established a single point of contact for foreign asset management firms. They have a supporting desk for the foreign companies to starting financial business in Japan. And now that they are under the process of the public consultation on the registration process in English. So you will be apply for the registration. Currently, this measures is only for the asset management firms, but you can apply for the registration in English language. And in terms of the fintech businesses, I would like to mention this year's 2 major amendments to the law. The one thing is about the fund transfer businesses. So they are creating the 3 types of the fund transfer businesses, and it's more flexible structure. And also this is a big news for the fintech companies. There will be a new category of the financial license as a financial brokers. So previously, you have to obtain the registration for each sector, so banking sector and securities and insurance. But next year, you can just obtain 1 license, and then you can do the brokerage businesses, banking, relating to banking and securities insurance. So this is a one-stop license. So now the many fintech companies, especially for example, the utilizing the bank API or aggregator services for the many various financial services, is very much interested in this new brokerage business now.
Okay, great.
This is my end of presentation.
Thank you. Sounds like we're doing a lot of preparation to tackle some challenges. And let's now go to Mumu in Fukuoka. Mumu, please tell us about Fukuoka and what interesting things are going on there.
Yes. I want to talk about the history of our activity as a candidate of the International Finance Hub. It's only 4 months. As Keiichi mentioned, I understand that Tokyo has a 4 years history, but Fukuoka only 4 months. And 28th of September, Fukuoka announced one project. It's called Team Fukuoka. This is the main body to promote this activity. And it consists of the 2 local banks, 2 railway company, 3 energy-related company, 1 property company, and the Fukuoka Stock Exchange. Remember, Fukuoka has a stock exchange here. Yeah. And on the 20th of October, Fukuoka announced another team, which is a Global Finance Center. I'm responsible of this organization. This is a sort of contact window or any sort of inquiry from all over the world. Our team consists of 4 members, including me, and all the members speak English And also we can also receive the we can also give the consultation in the Spanish and the Chinese as well. It's me, actually I speak 4 languages. Yeah. So, and this is based on the experiences as a startup Fukuoka. Fukuoka City promoted this sort of the startup for I think this 6 years. So the Fukuoka became one of the startup city. And now this team Fukuoka main body for the Internet Hub is promoting the to invite the global finance function, not global finance institution. This is a very tricky word, but a good word. Because so we are inviting the global finance function, covers many industry, company, and entity. And I'll mention later, but I think one of the key words is the startup. All right, and so we have only 4 months history. So we do not complete much preparation. Then I'm thinking about it, what we have now. And I think that existing the 4 tips will be useful for this discussion and also the potentiality as an international hub. First, it's a safety. What is the safety? Among the big city in Japan, and Fukuoka is the only city situated opposite to the Pacific Oceans. And nowadays, and so we are a little worried about earthquake, if natural disaster. I think it is good to have one location and geographically safer compared to the other city, according to sort of statistics. And when we talk about international finance hub and people talking about data security, that's why I want to stress the safety for the data security. This is the first point. Second point is the quality of life. Now the people is accustomed to run the remote works. And what is the problem with remote work? From my point of view, the problem is that there is no problem. Yeah. So when we started, yeah, so that we don't know how to work it, but actually we are working remotely. We don't feel many problems. And during the COVID-19, and so we cannot go anywhere. That's why the only thing we can do is a video call. As a result, I'm getting very busy now. And I'm having at average 5 video calls every day. Right. And I had to talk to the first the Finland startup talking about sort of biotech, next Indonesian sort of the collaboration, and I had to change the topic to each 30 minutes. It really takes a lot, but I think that this is the result of the remote work. Then, what is the point? You can live anywhere, so you can pursue the quality of life. Fukuoka is a very convenient city, and I'm living in an apartment about 2.5 kilometers from the center of the Fukuoka. It's called the Tenjin area. And from the Tenjin, I had a meeting with the Fukuoka City Hall, 10 minutes walk. If I go to the, let's say, the fishing, maybe the 10 minutes by bicycle. If you go to the beach, 20 minutes by bicycle as well. So if you go to the Korea, so the 10 minutes by bicycle to the Hakata port, take a boat. And finally, so okay, so we are enjoying the remote work, but sometimes we have to go to the very important meeting to Tokyo. From the Tenjin area, center of the Fukuoka, by metro only 15 minutes to the Fukuoka airport. I think that this is one of the most convenient airport in the world. Yeah. I also have experienced that this is my very experiences. So that when the airplane landed at the Fukuoka airport, still the airplane on the runway, a runway. Then 35 minutes later, I'm at home. So the Fukuoka is not so far from the center of the Japan, very close. But at the same time, you can enjoy the quality of life. Third point is a startup. And so what kind of function, what could be characteristic we should have for the IRC Japan to create an international finance hub? I think the startup company, and in particular the fintech company, one of the key. And as I mentioned earlier, and Fukuoka City is promoting the this startup Fukuoka project. And there's a lot of advantage, also deregulations. And one of the things is the startup visa. This is for the foreign entrepreneur to come to the Fukuoka with a very simple procedure. And they can stay in the Fukuoka for the 6 months and in 1 year. And I think about 20 cities in Japan, including Tokyo, has the same system. But only 2 cities is very active. One is Fukuoka and another is Tokyo. The number of the issuance of startup visa in Fukuoka is nearly equal to the Tokyo. It means for the entrepreneur, because of reasons, Fukuoka is attractive enough as a Tokyo. And fourth is sort of the POC of the soft landing. And Fukuoka, the cost of living in Fukuoka is much cheaper than Tokyo. And as I mentioned, Fukuoka is very convenient and for the good food. Fukuoka is a main city in the Kyushu Island. Japan has 4 main islands. Kyushu is a southern island. And the Kyushu is a famous at 10% of the economy. 10% of the GDP and 10% of populations. So it is big enough. So they settle down in Fukuoka and enjoy the quality of life and do the sort of a pilot. So they maybe if they grow up, they move to the Tokyo, but somebody will come later. Yeah, I think that these 4 tips are at least existing sort of an advantage or characteristic of the Fukuoka city. We don't have an ecosystem as a global financial center. However, we have the experience of as a startup centers. And somebody come to the Fukuoka, and we have to register. They have to register a company and open a bank account, find an office, whatever. Yeah. We also have a sort of ecosystem. Yeah. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mumu, for that introduction about Fukuoka. We now know that Fukuoka could be a cost-efficient and convenient place for the finance industry. I think we'd like to discuss a little bit about the importance of FinTech for Japan, given it's a FinTech festival. Maybe Keiichi, you could start by telling us a little about FinTech in Japan.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, I'm very impressed and inspired by what Mumu mentioned about Fukuoka City. I totally agree that what we need is finance function as opposed to financial institutions, right? Because finance is not for the sake of finance, or finance is not for finance institutions. Finance is more like a pumping the blood through, circulation, circulate the blood through the entire body, right? So what do we want to achieve, and what kind of social issues we are trying to solve? This is the most important issue. When we started the financial ecosystem transformational initiative, we made sure that this is not for financial institutions. This is to solve the problems, right? So we decided to, it's not limited to Tokyo, but for nationwide, we decided to focus on asset management and FinTech to solve the problems, right? So I touched upon the asset management issue. Our demography is aging and population shrinking, right? Interest rate is so low. and economy has been quite stagnant over the last few decades as well. So how do we afford our demography? In order to do so, we have to upgrade our investment management capabilities, right? But over the last few decades, fund managers have left Japan / Tokyo, and even Japanese equities. I had very interesting discussion with largest pension fund CIO. You can name it, but even Japanese equities. Performance of the fund management for Japan equity-based funds are largely driven by fund managers overseas, not based in Japan as well. So we have to quickly re-establish or rebuild our investment management capabilities to cope with our demographic issues. But another issue is that a little bit counterintuitive. Despite that Japan is technologically advanced, our financial backbone is quite antiquated. Maybe Mumu can elaborate more, but it's surprising that we have been using very old systems for core banking and security brokerage transaction system. The reason why is we are very scared. Financial backbone is a social infrastructure. We are not allowed to, we are kind of prohibited to fail, right? So that it's very difficult to try something new or potentially more convenient or much more efficient as well. So we end up having a very antiquated system, and any engineers who are equipped to maintain the system for COBOL-based or assembler-based system are also aging as well. So we have to deal with aging engineers as well. So that's why having a POC center, proof of concept center like Fukuoka would be very important, because if we try something in Tokyo, Tokyo is a quarter of Japan GDP. The shock is too big.
I see. Right.
We need to mitigate the shock.
Right.
And we should be able to have less. A little bit distant from the central government, so that we don't have to be scrutinized for whatever happening, right? So I think having multiple financial centers, not too many, but few different options would be very helpful, right? So your question was why FinTech? FinTech is to upgrade our antiquated financial backbone, and Yuri will be able to touch on this as well.
Yes, I totally agree to Keiichi. What he said is the purpose of the Tokyo Financial Award, and there is an innovation section of the Tokyo Financial Award, and currently there are many both the international companies and domestic companies are participating in the program. The FinTech is very key for the people's usual life to smoothly receive the financial services. And the financial institutions, Japan is very unique in that the not comparing to the other countries, Japan is more open innovation, and that means that the large financial institutions and FinTech startups collaborate with each other. There are many cases to collaborate with each other. For example, in terms of the open bank API, that's the government, Japanese government's KPI. And now I think that most of the 95% of the Japanese banks have already prepared for open bank API or well prepared bank API. Most of them are represent that they will open up the API, and there are many services utilizing the bank API. And not only the banking section, API is utilized in the insurance industry and securities industry. So that's why as I previously mentioned about the new brokerage business is a key point of that Japan's fintech services. And I would like to also emphasize two other things. One is the testing environment. So the Japanese government has regulatory sandbox systems, and also the Financial Services Agency has a POC hub. And also we have a national strategic special zone that includes Fukuoka and Tokyo and other major cities. And so you can have many opportunities to test your services in Japan. And another thing is, lastly, I would like to highlight, Japan is a bit, maybe some of the audience have the impression that Japan is a bit behind the digitalization, but now the Japanese government is very keen to proceed with digital transformation. And for example, this year, the government published the QAs about the digital contract. So you can utilize the cloud-based digital signature services that may enable the contract is effective. So and so the government is trying to abolish the stamp culture. Okay.
Great, thank you. I think we might have just enough time for Mumu to elaborate a little bit about Fukuoka and how, like Keiichi said, Fukuoka could actually be a good place to try new systems, a new testing bed. Mumu, if you'd like to elaborate maybe a bit.
Yeah, and thank you. And I agree with you. And so any sort of trial is welcome to the Fukuoka city. And Fukuoka is 1,000 kilometers from the Tokyo. So if somebody do the sort of the failure, nobody will realize that for a couple of months. So then, yeah. So then, just try it. And I think this is the culture of Fukuoka city, the Fukuoka. And I give you just one example. And in Fukuoka, one of the biggest local finance institutions, Fukuoka Finance Group, FFG, and it has many banks. And but now, so they are preparing to establish a new bank, sort of a fintech bank. And as far as I understand, now the bank is in process of getting the approval from the government. And it should start a business from the next year. And as Keiichi mentioned, the reason is very simple. So it is much easier to create a new bank rather than to expand the business from the existing infrastructure of the bank. This is what the FFC also clearly mentioned. And I had a friend, and he's working for the maintenance of the banking system. And Keiichi, right, he's a specialist of COBOL language. COBOL is a great programming language, and it is, keep revising, but still, it is not so efficient to create a new system, particularly the Open API. So I hope that this Fukuoka FinTech Bank will sort of offer the many opportunities for FinTech company by using their Open API. So we have this bank, then so many FinTech company can do the trial with this new bank in the Fukuoka. So so we realize that Fukuoka is a good place for the POC. And, if they grow up, yeah, maybe they will graduate from the Fukuoka, but we are happy to see of them as well.
Nice, great, thank you. I think we might have a little bit of time left, maybe do some closing comments from each one of you. Maybe we can again start with Keiichi.
Sure. So So this is that first time we talk about the regional financial hub as well as Tokyo financial hub, and especially in English. And despite that, I worked in Fukuoka. I spent some time, but I didn't know much about what was going on in Fukuoka as well. I did have done. We have done some kind of research on different cities or different countries, jurisdictions with multiple financial centers. There are some pros and cons and things we have to be careful, especially from a branding point of view, right? So we don't want Fukuoka to be perceived as the mini Tokyo, or only backup center for the Tokyo as well. Fukuoka is quite unique, right? I didn't know until I worked there. MJ, you don't know enough. You should visit sometime. Right. It is very fascinating. And I went there with my team members, and actually, half of the team decided to live there for good, and end up marrying there as well. So this is very attractive place, but this is also quite unique. So we need to kind of shape the strategy as to how to position each different city within Japan, and also like communicate abroad internationally. And we should do promotion together instead of like a one by one in a scattered manner. Otherwise, we may be considered being just competing or subscaled or disjointed as well. So that's something we have to start doing as well. So that's my kind of conclusion summary of my thought.
Thank you. Maybe from Yuri.
In terms of international financial hub, I know that some of the financial businessmen thought that the Tokyo is not so international. some people said it, but I think that it's a very old-fashioned idea. So nowadays, Japan is has been changed, and transforming into the truly international cities. And it's true that not only Tokyo, also the Fukuoka or Osaka, Kobe has a very much good place to do for the overseas companies who come to Japan to start businesses. And the law, I would like to emphasize that law itself, it applies for every region, then nationwide. So it's not a matter of the city to city, but it's a nationwide project. And now the government has many measures for the international companies to enable to be more easier to starting businesses. So please think about these opportunities, and Atsumi and Sakai is welcome to assist the international clients.
Great, thank you, Yuri. And we have a few seconds for Mumu's last closing remarks.
And thank you for everybody, and we received a lot of the compliments from the Keiichi and Yuri. And what we need to have is people, particularly engineer, and also the money. And when they start a company, come to the Fukuoka, and still it is very difficult to find the sort of the finance method. That's what I think, as Keiichi mentioned, the Fukuoka can play some role, and also the Tokyo can play some role. And so how Japan become the international finance hub? I think that we need sort of the collaboration and sort of to think about separation of the task. I think that then we can create the future for the next century. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mumu. Thank you everyone for joining today's session. It was Keiichi, Yuri, and Mumu from Fukuoka, and I'm Min-Jeong with Bloomberg News in Tokyo. Maybe if there is another chance, we could also discuss potentials for Osaka as well, since our discussion today was mainly focused on Tokyo and Fukuoka, right? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, great. And If you'd like to know more, please look up FinCity homepage for more information, and please reach out to any of our panelists here if you'd like to know more. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.